Welcome to another edition of Cohort.
1986.
I'm Rodney.
I'm Candace.
And welcome to our new session called the Creator Circle.
Yeah.
Who do we have today, Candace?
Well, today is a very special day. So we have two bright young ladies. I'm very excited to introduce them to the world. As I like to say, we have Ashleigh Curry and we have Samantha Hawkins. So let's give it up for them, first of all.
So, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
So ladies, want to get a little bit about your background, where you're from, and then, well, you know what? I'm going to spill the beans, right? So these two women have been working on a new film. Film, okay? One more time. Film.
Film, a real film.
A
whole film.
Okay? They are
a whole film.
Cinema.
A whole entire and absolute unit of film.
Yes.
Nice. So let's start with you, Ashleigh. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and what were some of your influences growing up?
So I'm actually from Gastonia, North Carolina, born and raised. So I graduated from Hunter Hus High School, and then me and Sam met at UNC Chapel Hill. A couple of my influences, early on, anything Spike Lee. That I think that's where it all started for me, where he was just making films for us and making sure that we were having that visibility for the younger generation, or at that time, me. And of course, Ava DuVernay. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, Misha, which I know she's like a producer, but she's another influence that definitely love her stuff. Lovecraft Country. I mean, come on. So those are my influences coming up, and that's what kind of influenced me to start writing and to be able to tell stories for us.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. And Samantha, what about you?
So I am from a teeny tiny town in North Carolina called Troy.
So
super small town. Yeah, it's not a place you go to. It's a place people go through to get other places. Yeah. So I grew up doing theater. I went to Chapel Hill. That's, like Ashleigh said, that's how I met her. We kind of met during we did like some social justice theater together.
Oh, wow.
We did remember Tunnel of Oppression, Ash? Yeah, that's like whenever we first worked together. We officially worked together, I guess, for the first time during our senior year on the Vagina Monologues. But then, I had my bachelor's in theater. I started doing short film and independent film right after college. But then I reached out to Ashleigh to do a piece of mine, and she just like jumped in and was super there for it. So, of course, whenever Ashleigh came to me, I was like, "Girl, I got you. Let's go."
Girl power.
Yeah. But so my inspiration, I not so much like one director, but I was I still am a horror kid. I watched a lot of horror films at probably a too young of an age. But I like films that make people feel things, whether it's regardless. I like eliciting emotions from people, and once I was old enough to understand that's a job you can have, I'm like, oh yes, I want to do that.
That's a really good point. I know, like, one of the scariest movies, like, I'm still scared of this movie, and I hate to say it, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Since you say a horror, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Terrifying.
But listen, guys, like, this is a real life story. Like,
and it's almost all practical too. It's really gnarly.
It scares me. It's scared. I'm still scared to watch it.
The cocoon monsters, those are terrifying.
Yeah, see, she knows exactly.
Yeah.
So, since we're exposing things, I was afraid of the thriller video until I was like in high school.
Really?
I would not watch that video until I was like in high school. I was afraid of Michael Jackson in the video.
Oh my God.
I watched for the first time when I was like 4.
And
he turned around with I'm like, no, that's not for me.
He pulled the switch up. I can tell you the first horror film that ever made me want to be an actor was the first Saw film. It came out in 2004.
Yes.
And I was way too young to watch it.
Me
but
too.
the scene with Shawnee Smith and the bear trap mask
Yeah.
and panicking and has to like cut the guy open. Yeah, I was like, I want to do that for a living. I want to make people feel stuff. So
that was classic.
And now here I am. Hi.
So Ashleigh, what's your movie? Everybody else has shared.
I would say the first movie that I watched that really has me, even to this day, is 13 Ghosts. You cannot get me to watch 13 Ghosts, Candyman.
It's so good. Candyman's so good.
Insidious, The Conjuring.
James Wan-verse is so much fun.
Do not watch Insidious.
No.
13 Ghosts, y'all. It's Matthew Lillard.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Don't go see it. Don't see it.
So it's Matthew Lillard from Scooby-Doo and Scream. Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. It's Matthew Lillard whenever he's a lot younger, and it's just so good. There's a reason Ashleigh doesn't like it. It's really good.
It is good. It's a good storyline, but it's like,
it's a lot.
Watching in the daytime.
Because I was gonna look it up, but I mean, Ashleigh, you kind of scaring me over here a little bit. So
if you look it up, you'll know, you'll see what I'm talking about.
It's real good. Just some of the monster designs, they're all so different, but they're all just, it's so good. You got to see it.
Wow.
I'm not a scary movie person, but for you, because you made the recommendation, I will check it out.
In the daytime.
In the afternoon, Saturday afternoon.
Have like a Disney movie ready to play after it.
Right after.
So you can actually sleep that night. It's fine.
Good idea. So we talked a little bit about how you guys met, but really kind of interested in how did you get into cinema, right? So I know you guys talked about the vagina monologues that you guys did together in college, but like what was kind of that transition point to kind of get into independent films?
Go ahead, Ashleigh.
I think for me, so I guess, before I even get, in 2013, I actually had a really good professor, Professor Kathy Perkins, and then Professor Kathy Williams, I think Hunter Williams. Those two were like my bread and butter, even to this day. I mean, I call them anytime I need anything regarding theater or film. But Miss Kathy said, well, I think you should do this. Like, I think this is something you should do. And luckily enough, one of my friends who was in a class with me, her mom was a talent agent.
Oh, wow.
And so I auditioned with them. I know it was like, who knows, but I auditioned with them, and then found out that the head of the talent agency was from Hickory, North Carolina, which is literally
right
30. Yes, literally right up the street. And so she was so awesome, and I, did that, and I was going on these auditions and going here and getting really close to getting it, but because I was too short, I couldn't do it, or it was something really minor, minuscule of why I didn't get it. So then I started thinking, well, I might as well try to make a film, make something, and kind of get into that lane. If I can't get any auditions, or I'm getting like not a lot of auditions or scoring that, then why not just create a lane and put myself in that lane so I can actually have that visibility, so people can say like, wow, this is awesome. We didn't see this before. And the only person that I knew that was actually doing things like that was Sam. And so she did a couple of things, and then we did a PSA, and that was amazing. We did like a whole thing. Yeah.
People, we sent it to some festivals, and it gained a lot more traction than I thought it would, because it's like a 3.5-minute blood donation PSA, but people thought it was dope, and I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So so Ashleigh's face has been, wait, there we go. Yeah, Ashleigh's face has been like all over everything now.
Wow, that's so cool.
That's the introduction, though. Yeah.
So what about you, Sam? Like, how did you decide to start doing these PSAs? Like, was it just like you woke up one day and just like, hey, let's
No. No, I wish I had thought of something that cool. No. So back in, so this poster right here behind me is actually kind of the reason I got into film.
Wow.
So American Mary is a Canadian horror film. It's a body horror film. Anyway, have you guys ever heard of sweeting a film?
No.
What's that?
Have you ever seen the movie Be Kind, Rewind with Jack Black in it?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
So the premise of that film is back whenever video stores still had VHS tapes that you would rent. Anyway, people would rent tapes and bring them back. Anyway, so Jack Black at the store has to rewind them. Well, while he's rewinding them, they accidentally get erased. So they have to like speed recreate these films from memory with like whatever they have laying around. And like they're terrible, of course, but like people actually start enjoying them.
Wow.
So anyways, that's the concept of sweeting a film. But so the filmmakers, the directors of American Mary, I think it was to celebrate their 5-year release anniversary of the film. They were like, hey, let's do a contest of whoever can do the best Swede of American Mary. And so my best friend at the time and I were like, we have to do this. I mean, we'd only seen the film like twice and we're like, we have to do this. And so we entered and we won. And that's how I got that.
Wow.
But yeah, they were like, this turned out really well. And you guys just kind of like made this without much warning. And I feel like you should do more of it. And we're like, okay. So I made a short with some friends of mine. You know, they say, write for what you have, write what you know, and, you know, do it as cheaply as you can. And so it was literally me and two of my friends like out in the woods one day. And that was like my first short film. Ashleigh, I think you've seen that one.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's really not good, but like, it's how you learn.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the same people from American Mary were like, so February is Women in Horror Month. And every year they partnered with the American Red Cross to do blood donation PSAs. Because whenever you think horror, you think blood, and they just made it a way to encourage people to give blood.
Right.
Wow.
So starting I think in 2018, they asked us to contribute a blood donation PSA to this like whole month of people. And we're like, what you want me to do? What? Like you made this. And you want me to work? Okay. So that's how that came about. But yeah, so the 2021 was the big one. We pulled out the big guns for that one, and Ashleigh was a part of it, and I'm so glad she was.
Wow, that's awesome. I just want to capture that moment, right? So you know, you and friends just came out and were just like in the woods, like we're just gonna do this. Let's try it. And that's just so great because you know when we think about being creative and when we think about artists and artisans. That's where that creativity blooms from. It blooms from trying things. It blooms from, you know, putting yourself
and being really bad at them.
You gotta learn.
You'll never know. You'll never know if you're bad. Some of the best ideas are the ones that are never heard. So so
they always say write for what you have, and I'm like, well, we have this big wooded space and a pond and a really cool tapestry, and I know how to make fake blood. Let's just figure out what to use. Cool. You know,
that is so cool.
And like I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, we figured out too, working on this project, this film that we're actually here to talk about, that you never know what people will help you with until you ask. So the key is just asking until you're told no.
Love it.
So many people are afraid to ask, and we're like, nah, we're just gonna see if it'll work.
Hey, that's my motto.
Let's try it. Let's just try it.
I've gotten so far from just asking the question. And you'll surprise yourself sometimes. People are like, oh yeah, you can help with this, or yeah, that's a great idea. Never thought about it. So put yourself forward, guys.
So I want to talk about Toni, Mamie, and Connie.
Yeah.
So what inspired you guys to actually tell this important story?
Yeah.
So okay, we'll have to start. September 2020.
I think November.
Let's start. Yeah. So that whole, I would say like a couple of months before that, I was just throwing ideas at Sam. I was like, oh, what about this really good? Yeah, I was like, it's really good, like suspense horror where the person is in, and then they find out, and she's like, Ashleigh, Sounds really good.
I never said no.
Yeah, she was like,
no.
But just think about it. Just think about what's the motivation? Like, what's the motivation behind that? And so I'll be like, okay, let's scrap that. What about this?
Well, that
we got
and like
this.
how quickly can you get from point A to point
A
B?
to point B.
How few resources can you have?
Yes. And I was
Ashleigh's
like,
coming at me with these killer ideas, and I'm like, we don't have access or time for that.
Right.
I was like, oh, and then it could like blow up, and then and she was like, Ashleigh, do we
have
anything on fire? I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was like, do we have that? And I'm like, oh, you know what? No, we don't have that. So it ended up, so after all of that, I threw all those ideas away, and I was watching, have you guys seen A League of Their Own with Tom Hanks, Madonna, who else? Rosie O'Donnell. It was a film back in the
Gina Davis.
Yeah, Gina Davis. It was a film that happened in the early 1990s, I want to say. But it's about women in baseball,
right?
Prefer white women, and we get to this one scene where the girl, something happens and the ball goes out of the park, and so this black woman comes up and she throws the ball back. And the other women, the white women, are like, wow, she's got skill. Like what? But that's the only thing you saw of this black woman. Wow. I didn't know her name. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know anything. And then it goes back to the story. So that kind of made me feel like, who is that? And I researched it and found out that was actually Mamie Johnson. And that was a real story. She tried to try out for the All-American Baseball League, and she couldn't try out simply because she was black. That's it. And she,
Which
Mamie
in this film.
In this film, yeah, you'll see how that kind of transpires. But I mean, that's really where we got that from. And then once I kind of found out about Mamie, it kind of led into Toni. Toni was the first one, then Mamie, and then Connie, right? And I had never heard of these ladies ever, never. And I think that kind of leads into
Kathy Williams too.
Yeah,
reached out to Kathy Williams, and she is like, she's like the knower of all things like Black history, Black theater. Like if it's happened, she knows about it, and she had no clue. And we're like,
no clue.
We have you have to tell the story.
Yeah. And then going into the research part of it, and I reached out to this Lydia Diamond. She's the playwright that wrote a play about Toni Stone. And I reached out to her to say, hey, is Toni's family still around? And she said, well, here's an email address to, I believe it's Toni's great niece, and please reach out to her. She'll be able to help you out. Reached out to her, and they said, hey, go ahead, we love the idea. Then same thing with Mamie's family. She just recently passed in 2017. So, and she actually lives in Ridgeway, South Carolina. So literally, yes, she lived there, grew up there, and then she ended up going to Washington D.C. with her mother later in her later years. But that's where she was from. And the same situation, they were like, oh yeah, this is awesome. But then Connie's family, I wasn't able to reach out to them. But I mean, that's totally fine. We were able to reach out to there was a book that her name is escaping me right now, but I did reach out to her, and she said, well, it's kind of hard to get in touch with Connie's family simply because we don't know where they are. And that book that she wrote was back in the early 90s. She doesn't really know where any of her family are. So that's where it kind of led. And I was like, okay, so if I haven't heard of this, and everybody I know hasn't heard of this, and then anybody that I reach out to, they don't know about this, then guess what? That's a hidden figure moment. We need to know. We need to know. This is so many hidden figures in Black history. We don't know who to give that recognition to, or give those the flowers to, is what you would, I guess you could say. We don't know. So that's what kind of led to it. And then once we were doing the rehearsals and everything, it kind of all laid out. I kept seeing articles in the newspaper, articles on Google, and saying like, Toni Stone, do you know who Toni Stone is? And I'm like, this is perfect timing.
You're
like, oh my gosh. Like, hold on, guys, it's coming, I promise. It was little things like that I kind of found out along the way. And I'm like, yeah, this is perfect for this time, perfect for this moment. I mean, it's what more can you ask for? People are kind of drawn into the story.
Gotcha. And so what was like?
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So what was the process of kind of writing the script and producing it?
So you want the line?
Look, we got time today.
We got time.
Okay. So Ashleigh comes to me and says, I have this concept. I want to talk about it. I want to make it into like a longer thing, but I don't know where to start. I'm like, okay. The longer a piece is, the more expensive it is to make. Mm-hmm. Why not start with something shorter and more condensed that's a proof of concept? Basically, you submit it to festivals because you're more likely to screen at a festival with a shorter piece, or a shorter piece usually. Words are hard. And then if people see that you can make a quality product without a whole lot, they're more likely to back you to make a larger, more expensive thing.
Right.
So Ashleigh crafted what was initially like an 11-page short, I think. Yeah. And at first it just centered around Toni. Yeah. And we saw her relationship. We saw her like as a kid with her mom. We saw her with her husband. And then we saw her with like her best friend and with some of her other teammates. And that's what we actually used to audition everyone with. And that's how we picked like our core cast. Ashleigh expanded it into like a 35-page thing.
I'm not mad at that, girl. I'm an overachiever too.
like I loved it and she loved it. And her cousin Monica, who was also one of the writers, she's been super integral to this whole process too. Yes. But we all loved it. And then it occurs to us, we don't have the time or money to make that.
Nope.
So the way that the final script happened, no joke, was the three of us sat on FaceTime for like 2 or 3 hours and just like panic rewrote the whole thing.
Yep.
And just picked the tidbits out of everyone's backgrounds that we couldn't do away with.
Right.
Yeah.
So it went from 11 to like 35 pages back down to 9 pages.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a task. Whenever I tell you we were honest to God panic writing for like 2 hours.
Yes.
But that's pretty cool though, that you guys, that you guys got together and had like this circle where everybody's like, sometimes when you work in groups and especially in creative places, you have to put your ego aside, right?
Yeah.
And so everyone has to come into it with an open mind. So I mean, that's amazing that you guys got it done in 2 to 3 hours. I know some of my meetings at work, I'm like, okay, when we gonna reschedule? Okay, we need about 3 more meetings to talk about this one simple concept.
Yeah, seriously.
And I had a question. So, like, as far as like casting for the roles, like, what was that process like? Did you have certain people in mind for it?
So for some, yes, but the people that I had in mind, it literally was like a 180. Like I had to change all of that initially.
I want to say I was available too.
Oh listen. We got a feature film. We might do a feature. We're gonna let you know. Okay, we'll let you know.
Rodney.
I could be the team owner.
Listen,
no joke. We low key should have put Rodney in as the guy that comes in there at the end. Yeah, I'm like,
you might be getting a call from us later. Okay,
look,
maybe next time, right?
Yes,
we'll have our people call your people.
Yes. No, but yeah, I mean, we just so initially, and Sam can tell you, I mean. So I had wrote myself as the lead and I was like, oh yeah, I'll be the lead. And then my best friend will be like my friend character. And then my fiance will be the husband. And then that's great because I mean, awesome, right? Well, if I look on the camera, I look very young on camera. I mean, I guess in person too, but on camera, I don't look like I'm 28. On camera, I read like I'm 18, 19, maybe, and so it just didn't come across as convincing. Like it wasn't going to be convincing at all. And so we had the lead Sherry Knox. She came in. She was actually she was actually auditioning for like the mom role, something like that.
She was auditioning for literally like the smallest role in the original document. We see young Toni's mom in like a flashback. She has like 3 lines or something.
And that's it.
I mean,
that's it.
So Sherry is on vacation.
Yes.
Sherry says, I'm running late. She was on, it was either like a bus or like a subway or something. Anyway, for some reason it got stopped, like well before her stop. And it's like pouring rain. I think was she in like Memphis or in like Nashville
Memphis,
or
Tennessee, because she just went to the Martin Luther the museum that they have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so she messages Ashleigh and says, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, but like it won't go to my stop. Like I'm gonna get off at the next stop and I'm just gonna walk back to my hotel." And we're like, okay, whatever. Yeah. Sherry ran in the rain. To get to her audition. Yes. She comes in and she's like, "Y'all, I'm so sorry. Here, I'll show you my rain jacket when it's still wet so you know that I'm not lying." And we're like, "We don't think you're lying."
Right. We were like, "What? You ran in the rain? Like what?"
Yes. She comes in and she sits down and she like, if you could take the literal sun out of the sky and like jar it up, like that is her incarnate.
Wow.
She is this wholesome, like I want to work with her on 100 more things. She's one of the coolest people I've ever met in my life.
Awesome personality, awesome everything about her. Just
She sits down and she reads these like 3 lines. And I'm, Ashleigh and I are listening and we're trying to pay attention, but I'm also like texting her. I'm like, "Ashleigh, send her the other sides right now." Because at this point, Ashleigh still has herself cast kind of as Toni, but is also aware that it may not work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, send her the sides for the best friend, like now.
Yeah.
And she killed those too. And I mean, there were no Toni sides because Ashleigh thought she was going to cast herself. And we're like, and Ashleigh's like, "This is a Saturday." And she's like, "We'll keep in touch. Thank you so much for being here, whatever." And so Sherry hangs up. And as soon as she leaves the room, I'm like, "That's your person." And Ashleigh's like, that's her.
Yeah.
Wow. That's how Sherry got cast.
That was perfect. And I was like, yeah, that's her Toni. I was like, I guess I'm not Toni anymore. I'll be Mamie. I'll be Connie, whichever one, but I'm not Toni.
And so the next day, Ashleigh messaged her and was like, "Hey, do you have time for a quick Zoom call?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course." And so the 2 of us on Zoom again, right before we did some more auditions the next day, we call her back and bless her heart. I love her so much. She's out to lunch. And so she leaves the restaurant and goes outside. And we're like, "Hey, so we just wanted to go ahead and let you know, like, we're not going to be able to offer you the role of young Toni's mom." And she's like, "Oh, okay. That's okay. I appreciate you guys seeing me, whatever." And she's like digging herself this hole of like just pure like gratitude, but also like you can see that she's sad. And then we're like, "Yeah, plot twist, because we love you and we're going to offer you the lead." And she's like,
she was like, "What? I'm crying." And so she was just crying.
Low-key crying.
And I was like, "Don't make me cry." And I mean, it was it was at that point, you recognize talent, and that's really what it was. I was like, yeah, it would be crazy for me to put her in a role that doesn't even, she would outshine anybody at that point. And I was like, there's no way. It's almost like putting her. It's almost like putting Viola Davis as like the person number 4. Like what? All that
Viola Davis is nobody's extra. Do you feel
me? I was like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so that's how it happened. And a lot of the people, like, as I told them, I said, "Listen, we're not Hollywood. I'm not gonna push you away and say we don't need you. Like, that's not me. We can always need it. I mean, I need everybody. So if you're willing to come."
Literally wrote a scene to include people.
Yes.
Wow.
One of those didn't end up in the final thing because we had to cut so much out, but still the scene that you wrote to make sure that Katie and Liz, and then she wanted to include me, and I'm like, "No, trust me, you don't have to." And she's like, "No, please do." And I'm like, "Okay." I still made it in. So,
and I just want to say a couple of things about that. Ashleigh, for you to have that humility and say that, this is better suited for someone else. I mean, I just cannot say enough, how many times are people that selfless. I mean, that was outstanding. Right. It's already outstanding what you guys are doing, but just kind of hearing the behind the scenes, like what you did as far as bringing this person into the lead role, and then also making space for others to give them an opportunity. That made my day. It really made my day.
Because a lot of people don't know where to begin, like especially specifically Gaston, like in the surrounding areas, you don't hear anybody doing, or at least not for me. I haven't heard of anybody doing that. And so I felt like, why not? This is my directorial debut of doing this, so why not give somebody else a chance? I mean, we don't know how far this can go, and I mean, at this point, it's even gone further than me and Sam. We're like every day, like, who else said something about this? Like, what?
Exactly.
And I mean, and just like I told them, everybody has to start somewhere,
right? So So where was you mentioned Gaston? So where was the film shot at? Was it just in Gaston strictly, or other places?
So the baseball field was at Belmont Abbey College in Belmont, North Carolina. But then the home scenes were actually my grandmother's home.
Wow. And then her house scene was right across the road from her grandmother's
house. Right across the road. Yep. Wow. And they live in like a cul-de-sac. Yeah, they all came out. They were like, "What's going on?" And I told them,
"Why are people moving my porch first?"
Right.
And I'm like, "I'm sorry."
It was so funny because I literally told them what was going on like months before it even happened. And I guess, me and Sam made this funny. Yeah, exactly. So about that. So I told my mom, I said, "Hey mom," I said, I'm going to have a camera crew in, and, just make sure, just because it's a Sunday and she goes to church and the kids go to church too, just to make sure we're going to be there early in the morning until like later in the afternoon.
Like 7.
And she was like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine." Well, when we got there and I started having people go in, and it was 7:00 in the morning now. And my kids they stay with my mom and they go to church and everything. So they were there. They were still sleeping. My mom was still sleeping. And she saw me and these 2 white guys. And she was like,
it's literally like one camera guy, one gaff, and like one sound guy. Like, it's not like 6 different cameras. It's really like 3 other guys and then like me.
But she was just like, Ashleigh, she was like, "Oh, this is like legit." And I was like, "What did you think was gonna happen?"
No, Mom, we're gonna shoot it on our iPhones.
Right. She literally thought I was gonna be like, "All right, okay, guys." And the fact,
Cam, let's go.
Cam, let's go. And I said, "Mom," I told you this a month or so ago. She said, "I know, but I didn't think you were gonna do it like this." And so, like, literally the neighbors were coming out and they would be like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Well, we're filming right now. If you can, just please be quiet."
It was so weird. I was like, "Oh, y'all are at home." I feel weird going quiet on set whenever I'm on someone else's property. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man, but it was good though, because I mean, you got to see it.
One of our actresses is like deathly afraid of cats. And so Miss Melody, I mean, y'all like deathly afraid of cats. And so Ashleigh's grandma's house, one of the neighbors that we shot on the porch, there were a couple little kittens running around, but they were running away from us. I'm like, "Oh, cool. So they don't like people. No big deal. There'll be no problem."
Yeah.
I kid y'all not. Like, as soon as the 3 ladies on the porch get sat up, like they all like haul up the stairs and they're like flooding this woman. And I'm like,
and she's screaming. She's, "Oh my God." And I was like,
and then, the neighbor's dog starts barking and I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
It was just a lot.
Oh man, but it was a good day though, and everybody kind of just it was different for Gastonia because, like I said, that doesn't happen. Like people and camera crews and this guy here and this guy there. So it was just really good, and a lot of people were just kind of standing around like looking like, "Wow, Ashleigh, this is all you," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is." Yep, I told you guys this like months ago, but okay.
Nobody expected it to actually like come to fruition, though.
Yeah, they
right. We really don't see a lot of stuff come to fruition.
That's awesome. But I do have to ask: did y'all get some dinner while y'all was there? Since it was Sunday.
Oh yeah.
So it was like,
Saturday.
Here's what happened. Raheem, Ashleigh's fiance, Raheem went and bought one of everything at the Food Lion.
Oh.
So whenever I say we had like tables absolutely packed side to side with waters, juices, Gatorades, any kind of snack, any kind of food, breakfast. I mean, everything you could have possibly wanted on this set. Like,
shout out to the fiance about the husband.
Right, he came in clutch.
Yes.
Raheem was like, if I don't do anything else, I'll make sure everybody's fed. And I'm like,
that part.
And he did a really good job. I think Saturday we had like Subway, not Subset. Well, it was like Sub
was it Jimmy John's or was it
Jersey Mike's?
Firehouse? Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was good. And then Sunday we just kind of had that whole I mean, it was like
whole
snacks full of I mean, y'all,
it was it was like, honest to God, one of everything out of the Food Lion. It was absolutely insane. I was like, dang.
Yep. And he was like, take it. Yeah.
Yeah, he told me and Lee to take like a case of Mountain Dews. We were like, okay.
Yeah.
I guess. So I got a question. Outside of your grandmother's neighbors, how has the reception been in your community for the film?
Ooh, before or after? So because
before and after.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So before, it was a lot of I can say from us three, so me, Sam, and Monica, my cousin Monica Cooper. It was we had a group thing going on text, and we would text.
I literally
text
still
each
have
other.
all the group messages if y'all want to see.
Literally, it'd be like but and then we would do rehearsals virtually. And we were doing rehearsals since like when, like February,
January, early February.
Wow.
And initially it was supposed to be filmed in like May, but then the guy that I had that was he is super awesome and he's amazing and he's like doing bigger things. Like he was like, I got
relocated to Atlanta. He has
he's
he
awesome.
got booked for a feature and he's like, I can't, and we're like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, no, do your thing, because I mean, But before the reception, it was just like, I think a lot of people didn't know how legitimate it was going to be. And like I said, I would, because they would see me on like doing virtual meetings and like doing rehearsals and things like that, but they never really thought like it would actually come to fruition. And so when it came about and we actually had an actual date where everybody could be there, because we had people from California, we had people from Las Vegas, like I mean Atlanta, Georgia, like it was
Daniel came from Atlanta.
Yeah, and it was so many people. So when we finally got that
from
date,
Atlanta, right?
Yeah, both of them. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was so many people and so many schedules that we had to account for. But when we finally got the date, I think for me it was just more excitement, and everybody was excitement. And then we saw the jerseys, and oh my goodness, they look awesome.
So good.
Yeah, and then the hats, and then the socks, and then everything.
So
it just went really well. And then I think people just didn't think, well, outside of the cast, I think people were like, oh, okay, you're doing a little film, okay. But then when we really did it, it was like
different.
They really did the film.
Wow, you did it.
The natural state of anything, I guess, artistically, is just not to exist. So it takes so much effort, like that. The incline of making a film is so steep that it almost never happens independently.
Yeah.
Whenever you don't have producers and millions of dollars and casting agents that do your job for you, like whenever you're having to assemble your own team and get your own locations and get your own costumes and recast people that aren't going to be able to do it anymore. It's a whole. It's honestly a miracle that anything ever gets made. So once we had a date nailed down, I was just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
This was, other than one music video shoot that I was on back in February, this is the first shoot that I've been able to do post-COVID. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I know it's far from over, but it just felt so good to be working with people again.
But I think once we actually did it and we showed it, not only did we do it, but we had proof. Like we had Liz Branca, who was taking the behind the scenes pictures, so I could show, like I put it on Facebook and I like tagged all the actors, and it was just like, oh my God, you're doing this film. And then not only that, but we got it in the Gaston Gazette, the local newspaper here. And people really got a chance to see like, oh, you were not playing, Ashleigh. Like y'all are really serious. And then it's just like been an upward, like, I mean, it's just been, I can't even tell you. It's just now it's like people are like, messaging and emailing and texting like, hey, when you do your next film, can you keep me in mind? And I'm like, listen,
hey, I think Rodney.
I got first dibs.
Rodney gets our 5 o'clock Saturday audition slot. Like regardless of whoever, like he is the first one we're gonna see.
Yes. Got you. We got you. But yeah, I mean, it really has changed a lot of and I'm getting, like I said, a lot of messages from people. Hey, when you gonna do your next film?
You got like 2 retweets, right? You got like a couple of responses on Twitter, yeah?
Thank you, Sam. I got a response on Twitter. One from the Pittsburgh Women's Sports Network, and then another from the International Women's Baseball Center.
Yes.
Thank you.
That is so dope.
Yeah, it was lit, and I was like, so what about an interview? I think I replied because he said, oh, congratulations, can't wait to see it. And I said, oh, okay. So what about an interview? Exactly. And then just like that, it was like, again, you just asked the question. Yeah, and
all they're gonna say is no, like
right. And I mean, ever since then, it's been an upward climb. Like, I mean, not climb, but just going upwards. Yeah.
Yes. Keep asking those questions. I mean, I am like thrilled that, you put your mind to doing something and you have achieved it. And now you're seeing the fruits of your labor. And I hope that, this is just the beginning for you. I can see it. I can feel it for what you've done and how you were able to incorporate like your roots, your grandmother's house, and your friend that you met in college. And this is why connections are so important. Yes. They're so important.
We went almost every single day. Like there wasn't a day that we didn't have something in the group chat, or like Ashleigh wasn't calling me, Monica wasn't, we weren't all like on FaceTime going,
what's going on? Yeah. And then connections are, I mean, I think that's one of the main things that kind of made this, well, not kind of, it did make this work.
It did.
And even now, we just, one of my, Miss Kathy Perkins, she just reached out to me and she said, hey, they're doing something in Atlanta at the Alliance Theater. And it's for Toni Stone. Would you want your film to be played before the play? And I said,
no,
is that a question? Yeah, I was like, wait, yeah. What do you need me to do? And she was like, she was like, well, I think it's in September. And I was like, it'll be edited by then. Absolutely. Let me know. And I can come down if I need to. Like, I was like, I'll do anything.
Say less. Like
Atlanta? Okay, yeah, of course. Tyler Perry, where you at?
Make my movie, please.
Yes. So yeah, it's connections are super, super important. Networking is super important. Yeah.
Right.
Ash, have you told him any of the like terrible things that happened on set?
Oh. Spill the beans.
Do tell.
Spill the beans.
We want to know everything.
Talking about whenever my signal went out.
We want to see a blooper reel too. We want to see a blooper reel too.
Oh, yeah. You're gonna
got one of those.
Yeah. I'll let you go. Yeah, I'll let you go ahead.
So blooper reel, honestly, everyone brought it so hardcore that even the like mistakes are not even like it. We just went back and restarted again. So bloopers, maybe not so much. So crew call was at 7, cast call was at 8. We were supposed to start rolling at 9.
Yeah.
So about 7:15, we realized there's only one power outlet. So my boyfriend Lee and I made an emergency Walmart run to go get like a drop cord and just random things. So while we're gone, the softball team comes up to Ashleigh and is like, hi, yeah, we have a practice here. And Ashleigh's like, no, you don't.
Right. I was like, LOL, no.
Yeah, she's like, basically, like, I've had this space reserved, but come to find out, it wasn't even really a practice. It was just like this pop-up event that they never reserve anything for. And it was like a boot camp or something. So they just went to like another open field, and that was fine, no big deal.
Yeah, good.
So Ashleigh starts, talking to everybody and getting everybody kind of in the right mindset. And I look over, and there's a campus police car driving by, and I'm like, Ash, we got company. And so she takes off walking, and I take off right behind her, and I'm like, oh God. So I don't know if it was the softball team that called campus police on us, but all I know is the softball police wasn't there until after that incident. So do with that what you will. But so the guy gets out of his car. He's super friendly. Yeah. And he's like, hey, so what are you guys doing? And Ashleigh explains, I've talked to this person and this person. I've got clearance. I'll show you the emails I've got, like whatever. And so basically then after that, she's like, I have the receipts. So then he's like, well, if anyone gets injured, he thought we were like actually having a game because everyone's dressed in baseball uniforms. And he's like, well, if anyone gets injured, we have a trainer, but they're occupied. And I'm like, look, this is a film set. We're literally going to be sitting in the dugout for like 3 hours. Like, you're and he's like, oh, okay. Well, will you guys just like move your cars off the grass into this gravel lot? And we're like, yeah, sure. Okay. And then we basically like, okay, buyed him off of our set. Like, cool. Yeah. God. So while this is happening, we've dodged the softball team. We have dodged campus police, who also came back to try to talk to Raheem and figure out what was going on. And Raheem's like, dude, I don't know. This is just this is Ashleigh's thing. Y'all can go talk to her. Yeah. So we've dodged all these bullets. So 8:00 rolls around and there's one cast member who's not there. And it's not Toni and it's not Mamie, but it is Connie. And she's not there. And we're like, okay, well, maybe she's like stuck on 85 because, 85 never stops. Yeah. Time of day. Yeah. So 8:15 rolls around and she's still not there. And we're like, okay. So Ashleigh tries to call her. Her phone is no longer in service. Yeah.
Oh my God.
She's not answering Facebook messages, Facebook calls, Facebook video calls, phone calls, like none of it. And we're like, oh God. Yep. Ash says she was at the costume fitting, which was like what, a month or two ago?
A month or two, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like close enough to where like, but evidently after that, right? Yeah. But so evidently after that, they hadn't really like corresponded a whole lot, and she wasn't at the last table read, like the virtual table read.
Oh my God.
And so yeah, she just straight up didn't show up.
Just didn't show up.
And we're like, oh God,
what do we do? Because we got to find somebody to fit the uniform, and because she was actually really, really scared. She was like an extra small. And so we
can't even like cinch it up in the back and like tuck it in. I mean, it's super small.
No, it was small. Yeah, it was small.
Yeah.
And, and I said, well, who do we? And we had another backup, but she was actually in New York filming something else too. Yeah. So I said, okay, who do we get? Sam said, your sister Latoya's wardrobe. She looks like she's that size. Let's see what she can do.
Yeah, she had just taken Ashleigh's kids to soccer practice and was coming back. I mean, she was gonna be there for wardrobe anyway. Right. And I was like, would Latoya do it? Because Connie has like 2 lines this whole day. Like she's not super featured, and she's like, and Latoya swooped in and saved the day, and I was like,
nice.
Oh man, that's wow.
God.
Oh boy.
Yep. And she did. I mean, she did awesome. I mean, because she did not know the script, had no like inkling of what was going on. And I literally just said, all right, here's your line in this scene. Okay, say this. And then in action.
Ash basically like fed her the line and she just like repeated it a couple of times and then we rolled on it and it was great. And we were like,
yeah. Okay.
Wow.
It'll work.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked out.
It worked out, but I definitely was.
You wouldn't have to
We were trying to like keep it together for everyone else because like whenever things are going south, everyone looks to your director and to your crew and to your AD to know what's going on and know what to do. And we're like, like intense pterodactyl noises intensify.
Yeah. Just like, oh God. And everybody like because at a certain point it was like, all right, it's 9:00. Like what are we gonna do? And we had to be like, oh, it's okay. Let's and literally inside I was like, oh my gosh, why is she here?
Like, we just did not even include Connie. It's fine. And
I was like, we're not gonna include Connie. We just do Toni and Mamie. And she was like, no, we need to do Connie too. And I'm like, oh no, we don't.
Like no, it's okay.
Yeah. So I have to ask you guys. So you're going to be submitting to some different film festivals. So like, what does that process look like? So is it like applications or like what's the process?
It's like a panel. Do they review it or?
Yes. So yes and yes. Okay. I'm going the wrong way. Sorry. Yes and yes. So there's a website called Film Freeway.
Yes.
That basically every film festival. It's like the hub where everyone gets everything from. And so you upload your project to Film Freeway and you just basically search for whatever festival you want to submit to. They charge a certain amount, and they charge more whenever it's closer to the cutoff date. Some you just submit in general, some you submit into a certain category, some you submit into an award category that you think it might qualify for. Like if it's effects heavy or costume heavy or whatever. Anyway, but yeah, so you submit, you pay your money, and then after their cutoff date, like you basically pay people to watch your film. And then if they like it, and if it fits into their programming, and if they like it more than they like everyone else's thing that they might could put there, then you sometimes get lucky and they include it.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's really good information for people, because I don't think people realize what it takes in order to kind of do production and filming. So this has been a really great pod for, anybody that's looking to start doing filming, writing, looking to do festivals. I mean, that's awesome.
We're here.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Now saying we're here.
Yeah. I mean, and it's literally just come up with a story. Come up with something that people want to hear and want to see. Because I think that was my biggest thing is like, I got to come up with this like super fun action packed. And it's like, I mean, I'm tired of the action pack. I just want to see something like, something that's meaningful. Right.
It's right what you have, right for what and who you have and where you have. It's right what you know. And it, like Ashleigh said too, like I keep pointing the wrong way, this mirror. Anyway, if you, I'm just like, where she is, whatever. Anyway, it's writing for yourself. If you are tired of not seeing roles that you want to play, like write yourself up, and then let someone else take it from you in auditions. It's cool. If you're fortunate enough to find someone that can take your role from you, let them.
Yes.
But it's not being afraid to ask questions, writing for who and what you have, and like Ashleigh said too, just writing for what people want to see and what you would want to see.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great, Samantha. That's great.
So I got this important question. Toni Mamie Connie, when is the premiere?
Ooh, okay. So right now it's in post-production. So do we have to do the editing, make sure everything looks good angle-wise, and then adding the music too. We did end up having a local artist come in and write a new song for the film. That's gonna be displayed in there. Yeah. I can't wait for y'all to hear. And then hopefully we're looking, I would say September 1st, 2021. That's possible, but definitely in September for it to be released and everything. Yeah.
And sometimes film festivals are kind of weird about, some of them don't care if your film has screened elsewhere or if it's available online, but some of them are really finicky. They want to they want to be like not necessarily the first ones, but like one of the only places they can. Right.
Yeah.
Like it gets people in the door if they're showing something that you can't see anywhere else. So it's kind of hard to nail down necessarily like a public premiere date, just based on that. But it should be out of post-production, hopefully in September, and making its way to festivals then. And
we'll have something.
We'll see from there.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm
very excited.
Toni Mamie Connie, guys, it is coming, and we're gonna keep you guys posted. So where can people find you guys?
So I have a Facebook account. It's just under Ashleigh B. Curry, and I also have an Instagram as at I am Ashleigh B. Curry. We also have a Facebook group coming up. So I'll on my social media and on my website, I'll be able to have those links available so that everybody can follow. And just look at the progress for Toni Mamie Connie.
Nice.
And I'm on Facebook. I was gonna say I'm on Facebook under just Samantha Hawkins. There's like 100 of me, so you might have to scroll for a minute. But it's fine. People try to steal my name. It's cool. It's cool.
It is.
Whatever. But I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Sam K Hawkins. But yeah, so I took some BTS on set that's on my Instagram, but some of those pictures ended up in the Gaston Gazette interview, which is super cool.
Wow. That is so cool. I'm really looking forward to the future.
We're looking forward to it for real.
I just can't wait to see you. So, Ronnie, where can people find us?
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. One day when we get interns, TikTok. Right. At cohort1986.com.
Yep.
At cohort1986. And our website is www.cohort1986.com.
Yep.
Our podcast goes to Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Apple Pods, and Spotify.
Yeah.
And so we can be found everywhere.
And I have to say, pretty soon, Ryan's going to be in a movie. So he's going to be starring in an Ashleigh Curry and Samantha Hawkins feature film.
That's right.
That's right. To be or not to be.
No, there you go. There you go.
I'm just saying, if you really want it, you're going to have to run in the rain to get to your audition.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Yes. You're gonna need them.
Well, we want to thank you guys for joining us today, and this has been another episode of Cohort 1986
in our special Creator Circle edition.
Yes. Until next time.
Peace out, and thank you guys so much again.
Thank you so much.